Am I wrong for not telling my husband I went into labor? I, 32 female, have 3 kids. K, 12 female, L, 4 female, and I just gave birth to my beautiful baby girl, Valerie. My husband and I have been married for 5 years and I love him, but he's a little bit of a mama's boy. My mother-in-law hates me. I grew up in a richer neighborhood and my parents left me with quite a lot of inheritance when they passed, about $13 million in assets. Mother-in-law, however, was a single mother with 2 sons and had a lot of trouble just paying for basic needs. She worked her way up and I think she's very strong. She doesn't like me and thinks I'm pretentious because apparently I had everything handed to me. Well, when I got pregnant with Elle, we decided to name him Luke, after my husband's father who died when my husband was only 3. Mother-in-law was through the roof when we told her, but ever since I fell pregnant again with Valerie, she has been adamant that we would name her Francine after her late grandmother. My husband wants to as well, but I don't. Instead, I wanted to name her Valerie, and not just because I like the name, but also because when I was 17, the song Valerie by Amy Winehouse came out and me and my family would sing it all the time. At family gatherings, it was always first on the speaker, car rides, and just in general. It was basically our song. Well, my older sister and my parents passed away in a house fire 3 years ago, and I miss them terribly. We were all a very close family, so it hit me and my younger sister very hard. When I suggested this to my husband and mother-in-law, they actually got mad at me because they wanted it to be Francine. I suggested we name her Valerie with the middle name Francine, or Francine with the middle name Valerie, but they weren't happy with either. During my last month of pregnancy, my husband has become more angry with me. I finally snapped and said that I wasn't going to name my child an ugly name that I don't like for the sake of a woman that doesn't even like me. He said that I was being unbelievable and that I had insulted a strong, independent mother. I immediately apologized, but he left to his mother's house. 2 days later, I couldn't reach him at all, and on the 3rd day I went into labor, Kate kept saying she would text my husband, and I told her not to bother. After hours of labor and awful pain, I gave birth to my baby girl and named her Valerie with Diana as the middle name. Diana was my mother's name. About 2 hours after I gave birth, my younger sister was able to reach my mother-in-law to get the message to my husband. When they came in, my husband was raging and yelling at me, calling me a pretentious, backstabbing bitch, and mother-in-law was more upset about the name. I think this might be the end of my marriage, but we can still change her name if I really wanted to. So, am I the asshole? Should I just change the name? After 18 years of marriage, I just found out that my children are not mine. My wife, Kelly, and I have known each other for over 20 years, and I have been married to her for 18. We have 17-year-old twins, a boy and a girl. And I found out that they aren't mine 2 days ago. My kids got those ancestry tests for the family, and we found out that I am not their father. Kelly and I met each other as coworkers at a job right out of college. We both were very ambitious, so after working for a couple of years, we decided to start our own business. We fell in love, and a year after starting our business, we got married. A couple of months into our marriage, we had a massive fight over the direction we wanted to take our business in, and I left our home. She came to me a couple of weeks later, and we compromised. We've been inseparable ever since. Kelly got pregnant around that time. We've been through thick and thin. Our business has been through several hardships, but we weathered them together. We were always there for each other. We could always depend on one another, and I loved her so much. She was a part of me, and I couldn't imagine a life without her. I trusted her absolutely until this happened. Kelly has been crying and apologizing constantly. She told me that during the time we had that fight at the start of our marriage, she got drunk one night and slept with a random guy, and that she has not cheated on me since. The betrayal has left me disoriented. I told Kelly I needed some time to process this, and I'm currently staying at a hotel. I don't know what I'm even doing anymore. The last 2 days have been a blur. I feel like a zombie, completely unable to feel or process anything. I don't intend to abandon my kids. I might not be their father, but I'm still their dad, and I love them dearly. My thoughts are a mess, so I'm writing this down to help me process. Kelly has always been a great wife and an excellent business partner. I don't know if I'll be able to look at her the same again or if I'll be the same person. I don't know how to move forward or if I even can.
I, 46 male, married to a wonderful wife, 33, and we have a young family together, 11, 9, and 3. My wife and I have both had rough lives filled with all kinds of hardships, and our home and family is our pride and purpose. Recently, but unbeknownst to her, it's come under threat. I'll explain as matter-of-factly as possible. Over 20 years ago, in another life, I was a completely different person. I was in circles I shouldn't have been and doing things no one has any business of doing. My wife knows a few details, but has allowed me to leave the past in the past as I've done for her. Anyway, in that former life, I was briefly involved with a young woman a couple years younger than me. She became pregnant. Neither of us were ready to be parents, so I offered her a choice. She made the wrong decision and we haven't spoken since. I don't know how he, 17, learned who I am or how to reach me, but it did. There was a meeting this Monday. I was informed that the young woman I had been involved with was no longer with us after running a battle with oral cancer. I extended my condolences but made it clear that I have a family now which I love very much and can't allow to be disturbed. The meeting predictably went south from there with more venom than I'm proud to admit on both sides. I left and assumed that that would be the end of things. I was wrong. My sister-in-law, 30, contacted me yesterday morning and informed me that my bastard had somehow found her and made its existence known. There was a fight that ended in an ultimatum. Either I tell my wife the full story of this girl and what came of it in the next 3 days, or she's gonna go behind my back. I unblocked its social media account to tell it to leave my family alone. I've since heard about this as well. All I want to do is protect my marriage and my children, and I cannot afford a stupid mistake from my past coming to destroy everything I've worked so hard to build. All it had to do was build its own life and stop worrying about the past. Am I the asshole for protecting my family from a youthful mistake? My husband, Jesse, 31, has been bringing home meals that his female coworker, Nellie, cooks for him. Now, I'm not the best cook and Jesse's made it clear, but he still eats what I cook every day. What I noticed with Nellie was that she tends to take every opportunity to point out how weak and tasteless my cooking is. Jesse would say nothing except steer the conversation towards something else they both relate to while I'm sitting there wallowing in my misery thinking about what she just said. Also, she once asked what was another chore I was good at, and Jesse said ironing his suits. She, in response, joked about having him send her a suit of his so he could see how good she is at ironing too. I rolled my eyes hard, but at least Jesse agreed that was weird. Last week, Jesse came home with a new meal she cooked. I told him I already cooked dinner and asked what he was going to do with the meal. He told me he was going to eat it for dinner. Not gonna lie, I was getting a bit irritated and he must have noticed because he said that he promised Nellie he'd eat it for dinner and that she asked him to take a pic of the empty plate later to confirm that he'd actually eaten it. I was baffled. Like, completely baffled at this. I told him one thing and one thing only. Told him that if he chose to eat Nellie's meal over the dinner that I cooked, then this would be the last time that I cook for him. He started moaning about how I was being unfair and putting him in a rough place. He stalled and didn't give a clear answer until I saw him walk past me later when I set the table and prepared for dinner. That's when he put her meal in the microwave. I felt so awful, I almost cried. I then told him from now on I won't cook for him anymore since he made his choice. I obviously pissed him off because he went off on me calling me childish and pathetic to make this about my ego. I got up from my chair and told him that I owed him nothing and that he made his decision and so did I. He snapped and said that this was ridiculous and that Nellie was just doing a nice thing for him while my behavior was disgraceful and disgusting. He then went into the bedroom and I rushed after him, but he shouted, "Leave me the fuck alone." He then proceeded to shut the door and hasn't been speaking to me after that. His mom knew about the argument and called begging me to be more patient and not make any decisions I might regret later. She agreed that Nellie was overstepping and firmly believes that she's the problem and so I shouldn't be hard on her son. But my mother-in-law is incredibly biased, meaning in her eyes, her son is the saint who can do no wrong. So that's that. I feel like I overreacted and really messed it up by pushing him like that. Am I the asshole for telling my husband that I won't cook for him again if he chose to eat his coworker's meal over mine?
Am I the asshole for arguing with my husband's doctor and acting like a Karen? My husband has a sore foot. No injury or medical condition that would explain the pain, but he hasn't been able to walk properly for about a week. Being the absolute pain in my ass that he is, he refused to go to the doctors until today. Apparently, he preferred to just pop medicine and complain to me. It's progressively gotten more swollen and misshapen looking, and today it's gone a funny color. We go to the walk-in clinic and we're finally seen by the doctor and he refused to even examine it. He told him without even looking at the foot that it was a sprain and he wasn't going to prescribe him any painkillers, so not to ask. Then showed him some foot exercises. Am I the asshole for arguing with my husband's doctor? I asked if he'd please look at it as it got black in some spots. And it looked similar to how my wrist looked when I broke it a few years ago. He huffed and asked where my medical degree was from and I demanded to see another doctor. We heard him telling the senior doctor they have a confrontational spouse who thinks her MD searching qualifies her to instruct real doctors. Also that he suspects my husband of exaggeration to get opiates. I'm seething and explain everything to the second doctor. Turns out he has 7 stress fractures in that foot, probably from running. The hospital apologized and asked if I wanted to make a formal complaint against the first doctor. And I did. Am I the asshole for leaving my best friend and his friend stranded in an unfamiliar city? My best friend and a small group of friends have started going to local Spartan races. Recently, they heard about one in another state they wanted to compete in, but didn't have anywhere to stay. They asked if they could borrow my truck and trailer for the weekend, and I said no, but that I would drive them and the camper to their event. We made the 3-hour trip and set everything up in the area where the race was taking place the next day. I have a habit of leaving my keys on a hook next to the door in my bedroom and my camper. Come nightfall, I went to take a call outside. I got back and the door was locked and my best friend's older friend said there wasn't room for me in my trailer. Am I the asshole for leaving my best friend and his friends stranded in an unfamiliar city? I reached for my keys to unlock the door but realized I left them inside the camper on the hook. I called my best friend from outside and all I was told was, "Bro, sorry, nothing I can do." I ended up sleeping in my truck that night, which I had fortunately left unlocked by accident. Their race began at 8 a.m. and they came and woke me up, and no apology by the way. So while they were racing, I hooked my truck back up to the trailer. When I saw them coming, I started the truck and drove off the property, with them chasing behind. I drove all the way back home and he said there were better ways to handle this than leaving them in an unfamiliar city. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for not waking my husband up for his 5 a.m. walk? For the past month, my 36, husband 39, has been waking up at 5 to have a walk. These walks would take about 2 hours, and side note to mention that this is new. He's not trying to lose weight and is pretty thin, and he's not athletic by nature nor has sports interests or hobbies. In fact, he hated doing any type of sport. I'm happy for him, but yesterday he came home in the evening after working long hours and stayed up playing late on his phone. I went to bed at 10 after getting done with the mess and everything. I woke up by him yelling at me at 7 a.m. asking why I didn't wake him for his 5 a.m. walk. He said I'm responsible.